We're going to bring up Shama Lee, CEO of SunFed. Let's bring you up, Shama. And we're going to bring up Miyoko Schinner, CEO of Miyoko's. Look at Shama. She's got like a bright morning there. I'm sitting here in the darkness here. How's it going? Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone.
All right. So I'm going to pop off in 1 second, but I just want to say something. 46. We have had 46 women founders, investors speak today. Did anybody know there was 46 women in the plant-based space?
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
It's awesome.
I just want you all to know we are a global ecosystem. Miyoko and Shama are going to take it away and talk about, I don't know what they're going to talk about. I think they're going to talk about being incredible powerhouse CEOs.
We're going to figure it out.
Yeah, you guys figure it out. I look forward to talk. Okay? Take it away, ladies.
All right. Well, I mean, it is really exciting. Hey, Shama. I feel so blessed having connected with you recently. I mean, you are, yeah.
I felt like I'm a kindred spirit.
Yes, we are kindred spirits, and both of us, we were probably where these ladies are that are back there, gave incredible pitches. I'm so excited. They're all so powerful. But honestly, I've met a lot of entrepreneurs, both male and female, obviously, and I've heard a lot of talks. And I have to say that your talk, your keynote in Sydney, was one of the most powerful I have ever heard. You covered every topic out there in terms of why vegan, why you were doing what you were doing. It was so powerful, not just powerful, it was so full of passion and inspirational. And so I feel deeply honored to have met you. I'd love to hear more about your vision, how you got started. What is the vision for your company?
Well, SunFed actually was born out of an existential crisis. So for me, I've been a software engineer for most of my life. So really good A+ student, checked all the boxes you meant to check as you go through life, and everyone tells you this is what brings you happiness. So really good student, won a scholarship to come study here in New Zealand. I'm originally from Fiji. Did really well, got a job, software engineering, climbed up the ladder, built my house, found my love, adopted kids of another species. So I've got a dog, a cat, and chickens. Checked all those boxes, but I was beginning to feel very hollow, very unfulfilled, very disillusioned with life until it came to the point where I quit my job, put myself in self-imposed exile for a year, cut off from family, social media, all of that noise, and really tried to figure out what was going on with me. And at that time it was a bit chaotic and organic, but afterwards I could make sense of it. And so essentially what happened was, as we go through life, we are in autopilot, right? And there are all these forces and systems conditioning us. I know they're not doing it intentionally. It's just the systems we have set up now, all the way from our children going through school to the business systems we have set up, the economic systems, the market systems, everything is conditioning us in a certain way. And as you go through life, you're putting on different identities that are sort of imposed on you, off-the-shelf identities. And for me, when I had that crisis, essentially through it, I shed all of that. And it was a very uncomfortable experience because you lose yourself. But I'm very grateful that happened to me, because once that happened, only then did I become really conscious of my life, conscious that this is limited. This is finite. We are here on this planet with a limited amount of time and energy, and only we can decide where we want to put that time and energy. Not be dictated by other forces, but actually realize consciously, this is where I want to put whatever time and energy I have in this life there. And so out of all of that, eventually SunFed was born. So SunFed in its DNA is very purpose-driven.
Well, I mean, that is beautiful. And I think that's why I feel like we are kindred spirits, because I had a very, very similar experience to founding Miyoko's. And I wonder if it's part of the female experience, because when you hear about a male entrepreneur, they're always saying, well, I saw the white space. I saw that we need to do something to combat global warming or whatever. And this was a huge opportunity. But I had a similar thing. You know, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've had businesses since I was in my 20s. So many, many, many years. I'm afraid to say how many decades that's been.
You are a trailblazer. You're a
Yeah,
trailblazer.
but I had gotten away from food. I'd always been in food, in vegan food, and I'd gotten away from it and had actually begun to experience financial success going into real estate when I was in my 40s and early 50s. And then I got to, I was in my early 50s, and I was like, what is the purpose of my life? Why am I doing this? I felt so just empty inside, that like there was nothing I was living for except for just making money. There was no purpose. There was no value creation. I wasn't making the world a better place. I wasn't following my passion. And I just finally said, you know what? I'm in my late 50s now, but if I don't give it my all and try something that I really believe in, and just throw myself into another business in the food space that I believe in, what is the purpose of my life? Yeah, I'm gonna go to my grave just feeling like, what was it all about? And so, this is, to me, I feel like for every woman, this is something that when we start businesses, it really comes out of our hearts. It doesn't just come out of an opportunity that we see cerebrally. Of course, we have to be able to envision that as well. But it's what we bring, I think, from our hearts that gives it the credibility, the beauty, the thing that people can connect with.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And you touched on something really important there. The world is suffering from unbalanced masculinity. Okay, it's pervasive and it's in all the human systems we've designed. So this world, this human world we're living in, we should not forget we have created and designed it, which means we have the power to change it. Now, what do I mean by unbalanced masculinity before I get all the hate mails? By the masculine and the feminine, I don't really mean men and women. I don't mean body parts. The masculine and the feminine are two different forces in nature. Yin Yang, Ida Pingala, Shiva Shakti, various names. But for a human being to be balanced, to be at its peak, you need both those balanced in you, the masculine and the feminine. And for too long now, the masculine has ruled and undervalued the feminine force. Okay? And it seems to me it all started back in the intellectual enlightenment, and with the Industrial Revolution. Those two, incidents that happened in history shaped everything we have now. The Industrial Revolution shaped industrial agriculture. And because they were born out of the masculine, they're extremely utilitarian. So they see something and they go, how do I use it? Which can very easily turn into exploitation, right? So very utilitarian, cold logic, and it favors conformity. So mechanization and standardization came out of that into industrial agriculture. And then we ended up with monocultures, where crops lost the protection, the natural protection and support it has from a diverse ecosystem. And because of that, we then had pesticides and fertilizers. All of these things came that we now think is a norm, but it was born out of the Industrial Revolution. And same thing happened with animal and all these giant factory farms. It takes that sort of mind to design a slaughterhouse, that sort of cold logic. Cold logic without the guidance of a warm heart is very destructive.
Yes. So what do we need to fix that? And, it's not just the world that the companies fix, but we also have to think about the culture of the company itself. How do
Correct.
we grow a company that is based on compassion rather than making a profit? How do we take care of our own people internally, as well as the world outside of us? I mean, how have you done that as your company has scaled and gotten bigger, and you went from, just being a founder to having many employees? I mean, how have you done that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I was saying. The system you design, like you're saying, so a company is another system you're designing, right? And so are you going to fall into the same trap of designing the systems we have inherited, or are we going to rejuvenate ourselves? With COVID now, we put a reset. right? It's not time for change. It's time for transformation.
Absolutely.
And this is where we
Yep.
need the feminine more than ever. So what I'm trying to say is that we've had these inherited systems from the past, the intellectual enlightenment, industrial revolution, overly masculine, and now we need the feminine to come in and balance it.
Yes.
Okay. In fact, I think from what I have learned from Sunfed, and I say this from experience, in my younger days, I was very masculine. Okay. Brute force, competition, logic, software engineer, very masculine. So this is my own personal journey. I've had to learn to balance myself out. And so the feminine is nurturing. Okay. And nurturing is not a weakness. A mother doesn't look at a child and go, how do I use this child? A mother looks at a child and go, how do I create an environment where this child flourishes to its fullest potential? And you need to take that integral femininity and apply it to the whole planet. So for our business, like I said, we're a purpose-driven business. Profits and money and scale, all of that come because we have a why. We're not building a business for the profits. Sunfed is in the business of making life better. In fact, Sunfed is the business of making all life better. So to me, I think the feminine gives the why. The feminine gives a really good vision, and it guides the masculine towards it, because you still need that brute force. Don't get me wrong. To build a business and to build it at scale, you need the masculine and you need the feminine. But without that guidance, we just end up in the same problems we're currently now, whichever system you look at, even our education system, the way it's designed, the academic system. Again, you are devaluing the feminine. Arts are devalued, dance is devalued, play is devalued, and you are instead valuing logic, academic. So our children are being mechanized and standardized. We're losing the feminine in every form. So even if it's a company, if it's education, if it's agriculture, whatever we pick, we have to make sure that the vision, the why, comes from the nurturing, comes from the intuition, comes from diversity. The feminine, she takes many forms.
Absolutely.
Masculine, because they like structure, right? They like order, where the feminine can be chaos. But that's what disruption is, right? Disruption is to regenerate, you have to disrupt the existing status quo. So for Sunfed, we're very conscious that we don't want to become another problem on the planet. We have seen companies which start with good intentions, and then as they grow, they just turn into the same problem. They start exploiting, they start consuming too much resources, and it's the same problem. So the question is,
no, I mean, I feel the same way. I don't think that I went out. I'm not an engineer. I've always been, I don't know. I studied philosophy in college, and I think I've been in food for a long time as a developer and as a cookbook author and everything. So I've approached things, I think, from a little bit more, I don't want to say loosey-goosey, but more of a creative way. You've got it very, very well analyzed. I'm not sure I was quite there. But one thing that I did experience, growing my company from the original 4 employees to we're almost about 200 today, was exactly that. As we were evolving, we got to a point where I hadn't clearly defined what sort of structure I was going to put in place to maintain a certain culture in the company. And so we got to a certain size, and all of a sudden it was like, holy moly, what is this monster I've created? Why is there so much chaos and disharmony and people not communicating well? So I think it's one of the most important things for entrepreneurs to really think about is, as they scale their company, to think not only about how do I sell the product, how do I market the product, but how do I grow the company internally that supports all of the employees, that puts the programs in place so that they will never, ever be, of course, exploited or abused, but they will be cared for. And so a compassionate company is one that not only creates products that help the world, but actually helps the employees that they employ. And this is something that I think we all have to think about, and it's important to think about that early on when you're starting your company, so that you don't go through the turmoil that I had to go through to sort of right the situation and make sure that our entire everyone's vision was aligned, that we were all headed down the same path together, holding hands, with the same vision and spirit and joy. I think, you attacked it much more analytically than I did initially. Everyone has to go through that. I'm not sure that I would have defined it quite as the masculine and the feminine, but I think that's a very, very good way of analyzing it.
Obviously it's very organic, and all we can do is sort of rationalize what's happening. But I agree with you that, life is far more than just what we put into labels and buckets. To your credit, though, you were evolving with your company. Your company is a living, breathing thing. It goes through all these different stages. And sometimes there are people who are well suited at one stage who are not well suited at another stage. In fact, it's with Sunfed, we find it outgrows us really quickly. We have to keep up. And we have people who enjoy that, that it keeps life interesting. But yes, one point you raised, so I come from software engineering, most of my world was in software. I was a software architect. And I jumped into food, no experience, nothing. And for a long time in my team, I didn't have anyone with food experience, but initially it was just me. And
so did you develop the products, or who developed the products?
No, so initially in the beginning, setting everything up, it was me. And then I did bring in some core people to help me, but none of them had any food background. And in hindsight, it's turned out to be quite a good competitive advantage for us, actually, because we were not limited by the existing paradigms in food. But food has been really humbling. Food and engineering and production plants, and it's real, and I realized that I went from a cerebral virtual world dealing with bytes to a real world dealing with atoms.
And you're manufacturing yourself, is that correct?
We do. We own our entire manufacturing and production plant. Essentially, I have a team of engineers, because that was the only way we found we could keep the food at very high quality, keep the integrity of the food, and keep it very clean. So we, in the end, ended up designing our own production lines, and everything we've designed and built over the past 5 years is designed for scale, because we already had that global vision. And so we found there was nothing off the shelf we could use. So we've had to do hard yards. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's really interesting, because I think for a lot of people in this space, we're all sort of venturing into a new technology and figuring out how to scale. It's not like there's a playbook that we can go to, and when we built our initial plant, there were no engineers that could tell us how to put together a line to make our plant-based cheeses and butter. It's just no one really knew.
Yeah.
And when we first built our plant, it was honestly very, very scary. One of our investors is one of the judges, so she doesn't know the story, but I don't think I've told Lisa, but I was afraid the first couple of months the products didn't turn out, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to lose everyone's money. It's going to be all over. It was extremely, extremely scary, because we were learning the technology behind, we were inventing the technology and figuring out what all the pitfalls were. At the time, we were only making cashew-based cheeses, but we found out that this equipment that we thought was a scaled-up version of the prototype was actually destroying the integrity of the cashews. And we had to figure out, how do these things, how do they behave at scale under these biological processes that, such as fermentation. For the first couple of months, I thought, oh my God, we're going to be done. I signed this lease. I'm going to lose everyone's money. So it is really, really scary. I think we're all sort of walking into uncharted territory and trying to figure it out. So it's both scary and it's exciting. And
I bet it's exhilarating, as well. And you are on the cutting edge. You're figuring things out that hasn't been figured out, like you said. You're on that unknown. As I like to tell my team, we're at the bleeding edge, which means we bleed a little. But isn't that what makes life worth it? That you are doing something that hasn't been done before. And in fact, for Miyoko's, that's your competitive advantage now. You've vertically integrated your production. You have full control over it. Yes. You can adapt and pivot to what the market wants. It's a fantastic, business advantage.
To some degree, yes. Yes. We do have co-packers now. We found that was another way to scale, but we had to figure out that technology before we actually could go to a co-packer and say, okay, I need you to get this piece of equipment and do this and this and this. So yeah, our plant can't meet all the demand by itself.
Good problem to have.
Yeah, yeah. So, I'm just curious. I want to talk a little bit more about the company culture
Yes.
for female entrepreneurs, especially as we grow into the role of the CEO. First, we're the founder, and when our teams are small, everyone sort of believes us and supports us because, we're the only ones that are sort of making up the rules and we know what we're doing. You get to a certain size, you start bringing in the so-called experts. You hire the MBAs, you hire the COOs and the VP of Ops, and you bring in the so-called experts that have had decades of experience or so, and then the company culture starts to change. Employees start to look at you differently. Do you think there's anything like unconscious bias towards a female CEO? Do you think any of the entrepreneurs that we're seeing today on this platform, as they scale their companies, might experience that? I'm just curious, like, where is your head around unconscious bias from within the company? Is that something that you've ever experienced or thought about?
So unconscious bias no doubt exists in as human beings. Even I have it. Everyone has some sort of conditioned structure in their minds that they're probably not even aware of, which is why it's unconscious. So that for sure exists. And like I said, because we've been raised in systems that devalue the feminine and value the masculine traits, it's pervasive. So it's there, especially around concepts of intelligence. So we think logic is intelligent, intuition isn't, which to me is insane because, they're both the same, I think, or intuition can actually it's where creativity comes from. But in terms of the internal, because I have to talk to engineers, brand, we've got a production team. To me, I see it as a communication problem. So I'm talking to this other human being, and how do I get them to see what I'm seeing? And I have experienced, not just internally, but more so externally to date, not so much internally, long may that last, but externally for sure, that I've had to work harder at that than, say, my COO or my male counterparts. That in externally, when I'm trying to explain someone and get them aligned, it takes me a little bit longer. But, it's a good skill to have now. So going into a meeting, we as women just need to be aware of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, just you now know the rules of the game and you just play to the best of your ability. But it's important you're aware. I think when you're not aware, then it can be quite a big hurdle. But just see it as a communication problem. This person has certain mental constructs where it makes them fail to see me, to hear me. So how do I cut through? How do I cut through that bullshit, and get him to see me? I think I'm still learning.
Yeah, no, I think we're all learning. We don't see a lot of female founder CEOs in this space, and so we are learning how to become strong in our position, in our space, and it's not just the unconscious bias or conscious bias, whichever. And I think communication is a key part, but it's really our ability to continue to inspire within the company and to provide that vision that everybody can understand. The larger you get, the more important it is that we can maintain our position as the holder of the banner, that the vision that we originally started out with. And it starts to get watered down the more people you have, the more ideas that people bring in. You've got all these people coming in that have their own ideas. And eventually the company is no longer the one that you started out as, unless you hold a clear vision and remain at the helm of the company.
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. You have to be the visionary for as long as you need to. And that's very important. Investors and other people might tell you otherwise, but you know why you started the company.
Okay. Okay,
We have
that's
to stay
that.
really strong to that.
All right, let's
But
talk about investors for a minute. Okay. Okay, so what happens? I mean, I've heard all too many times, investors come along, they go, well, okay, great idea, great company, but I think we need to bring in the big guns. And then, you sort of get relegated. I've heard this before. It it hasn't happened to us yet. We're lucky, keeping my fingers crossed here. But, what do you think about that, and how can women maintain that position without having investors? And, how do we nurture those relationships with investors? What are the mistakes you've made that I've made with investors that we wouldn't do again? This is one of the things I get asked all the time from people is, what do I need to think about when I choose an investor, rather than just, who can write the biggest check for the best
yeah,
valuation. So, what are those things? Because ultimately you are getting into bed with an investor. It's like a marriage. You have to have a good relationship, and they can be very, very powerful and can tell you how to behave and whether or not, you stay in that position. So, I don't know, what's your experience been like, and
well,
what
I
have
think
you
only
learned?
you can, I think we need to realize only we can give up our own power. Um, so, to the entrepreneurs out there, I will, always remember you, the founders, are the creation engine. You are on the upstream. Everything else is downstream. It feeds off that. Without you creating all these businesses and products and services, this thing doesn't exist. Okay. So there's your power. You are the creation engine. They need you more than you need them, especially now in the capital fluid world. I would want to say that you make friends with your investors and you nurture the relationship, all that stuff. But I will say very clearly, you need to keep control of your company for as long as you can. That means you need to understand your term sheets, upskill yourself on that right at the beginning. Understand that this is your life you're putting into. Okay, well, for me anyway, this is what I'm dedicating my life to. I have a really big vision I want to see done, not for me, but that's what I want to build with the time and energy I have. And I don't want that compromised, and I don't want myself distracted. Okay, so you have to be really conscious of that sometimes you do not have the time to go on and get everyone elevated and enlightened and get their unconscious bias out of the way. Sometimes you just have to run, right? And so have very good lawyers and understand your term sheets, because at the end of the day, no one will care about the company and the vision as much as you do. Okay, you'll be very lucky to find certain team members who do. And like you said, Miyoko, totally agree with you. Internally, you have to build that team and build that resonance 100%. But you also have to be smart and understand this is the playing field right now. We want to get it here, but sometimes you just gotta deal with what the reality is and do not compromise your own vision. Now, investors have their own portfolio. You are one of the other portfolios they have. So you're the only one who's going to, and you are also evolving. Your vision is evolving. And as that happens, as you grow and expand with this business, you want to be able to realize all of that. So always keep that in mind from the beginning. You're starting something, it's fuzzy, it's unclear. I was the same, so many unknowns. You jump in and, life will build from there.
Well,
Things will.
absolutely. I mean, that's the advantage of being a founder entrepreneur, is that we are able to just jump in and start something.
Yes.
What happens when you start bringing in all these experts is that if they don't have a roadmap, sometimes things don't get started. They want to have all the answers spelled out before, they can get the project moving. And sometimes
Yeah.
as we get bigger, we become less nimble because of that, because of now we've
Correct.
got all the experts. And so, back in the day when you're just starting out, it's like, okay, I got this idea. I think I know I'm going to do it. And you just jump in and you start doing it. All of a sudden, whether it's product innovation or scaling up or whatever it is, marketing, all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a minute, now we got to think about this and this and this and this and this. And it just becomes this giant machine that becomes harder and harder to
Yeah.
move. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think are some of the learnings around that, so we can maintain that agility of that startup experience as we get bigger and bigger and bigger? because that's really where the value came from, was that that nimbleness and that agility.
Absolutely. And to your point, you said where you bring in experts and academics. So we have a rule at Sanford, we bring in no academics. And if you are an academic, you better have really good hands-on experience. So it's that clash between someone too cerebral, whose mind is too rigid and structured, versus someone who has creativity and has hands-on practical. That's why I say engineers. You can see a problem, design it, build it. But having that creativity in that engineering is really important. I think, so in your recruitment process, you have to know what you're hiring for. And for us, it's like if you're too academic, Sanfed will be too hard on you. Jen, is our timer?
I think we're out of time.
Yeah, we're out of time.
Continue what you are saying. I am absorbing every second of it. Finish your thought.
Yeah.
I lost my thought. What were we talking about?
The
we're talking about the experts that, know so much that we're no longer able to act.
Yeah. How do you remain a startup as you grow big? Many companies have already done this in the tech space. Mm-hmm. Disruption and regeneration. And that's where us girls come in. We're good at that. Okay, so internally, you have to continuously keep disrupting your own products, your own
That's
self.
Right. And disrupting the process within the company itself.
100%. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Y'all, I mean, I had to go to the jury deliberation for the first few minutes and I heard all the chat, just like everyone is just so amped. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to hear, what were your thoughts about this summit? As both Pathfinders in the space, I'm curious, what excites you the most about some of these women founders, or what's to come in plant-based?
Oh, well, plant-based is going to take over the world. It has to, because we have to rule from the heart. What Shama and I were talking about, we have to operate from a place of compassion. That's the only way this world is going to survive. Compassion is the key to everything. Compassion is the foundation. The corollaries are animal welfare, the planet, and our health. If we operate from a place of compassion, we will save the world, because we'll care about animals. If we care about animals, we'll care about their habitat, and so we'll take care of the earth, and we will take care of the people that inhabit the earth. So compassion is absolutely everything, and that is the female spirit that Shama is talking about. That is the future of business. We have to transform industry to operating from a place of compassion and caring, not exploitation and let's make profit.
Yeah, I think
that's plant-based, vegan.
Yes. And the fundamental fact is that whatever system we design, a human being is in a state of flux, right? And so whatever system you put that human being in, that's how it'll resonate. And so we now have to consciously design really good economic systems, education systems, industrial systems, food systems, led by the feminine. Mm-hmm. Now, you need both the masculine and the feminine, but it needs to be led. The vision has to be set by the feminine, because it has to be a vision of nurturing and organic diversity and beauty, aesthetically beautiful things, which nature itself is. And if we think about it in that way, if you have a feminine leading these kinds of design systems, then naturally the beings in that system will flourish. So you ask yourself, what does it take for a human being to flourish? And you make sure in your companies, in whatever you're creating in this world, it has all of those elements.
Yes.
And then you can leave the world better than we found it.
I think the word that you used is consciously designing future systems. Yes. Conscious. Yeah. That's the key. We have to be conscious. We can't just 100%. Let it happen and, the way it's been happening.
So we not only need consciousness to rise, we need the feminine to rise.
Yep.
But this kind of summit is fantastic. It's fantastic to see all these women entrepreneurs, all this beautiful energy, and gives us hope. Should not forget, meat consumption is still increasing. So you have to understand why, and then design really good solutions to combat that, but keeping in mind all life, from the soil to the water to the air to the human being. Okay.
I think the one thing I really wanted to accomplish with this summit is I want women to understand that there is so much power in what we can build We maybe
Yes.
don't get the press coverage that we deserve. You know, we maybe are not getting the investment that we deserve, but damn, do we have the skills and expertise. We just need to get accelerated. And I hope everybody here can see that from what Shama and Miyoko are speaking about. I hope everyone here feels that we are creating that platform and we're not going away. Women are not going away. We know how to build good businesses, and we build better businesses, by the way. Like, our businesses exit better. Our businesses provide better value per dollar. Women founders are here to kick ass. So with that, any last tidbits you want to leave the audience with? Maybe Miyoko, what's your best piece of advice to a woman founder? And then you, Shama.
Well, it's not just a woman founder. I want to also remind people that you can do it at any age. Life is long. Don't give up. Just keep on doing it. Operate from your heart and be conscious of every single moment.
Yep. Shama?
Be in the business of making life better. So be in the business of well-being. And if that's your vision, then everything else will align. And we wouldn't have these problems we're currently having in the world.
Amazing. All right. Well, we are so thankful for giving us our 35 minutes with you. We're going to bring the jury up now. We're going to say bye to Miyoko and Shama, and we can all watch our winner be crowned in a few minutes.
Woo, 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 woo.